welcome back. My name is Melissa and I'm a recent law school graduate, and I also have a love for growing and preserving my own food. So today I'm going to take you on kind of a different video. I have a lot of stuff to harvest and do in the garden today. I think we're going to go through and get some green beans, and I need to learn how to harvest sweet potatoes. This is our first year really growing sweet potatoes. And I thought they're like normal potatoes where you wait until the plant kind of dies and then you harvest them. But with sweet potatoes, we need to kind of dig around and see how big they are to see if they're ready for harvest. And I'm gonna go ahead and show you how difficult this might be. Okay, so this is one of our sweet potato plants. I actually planted one, I think, right on the side. And I'm gonna go in and show you just how thick these are. So hopefully I remember where I planted this. I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling these back and seeing if I can dig up some and see if they are ready to harvest. Okay, so I went ahead and pulled these back and you'll see this little red root. So I'm gonna try to get in here, and I'm just gonna use gloves. I'm not gonna use a shovel or anything that could injure the sweet potato. And I'm just gonna try and dig down and see how big it is. Okay, so here is one of our sweet potatoes. I keep digging and it looks like it keeps getting just bigger and bigger down there. So I think I am going to harvest some of them today. And this one right here looks like it might be smaller, so I might leave this one in a little bit. We can just cover this back up with dirt once we've harvested some of the larger ones. So let's go ahead and start getting these out. So we went ahead and we got our first one out, and there feel like there are a lot more in here. So I've just been starting to get into this, and look at the sweet potato. It is huge. I think it's bigger than my head. There were a couple smaller ones, and with those I'm going to just put the dirt back over and they'll keep growing. But I think some of this excess I'm gonna try and cut off as much as possible so I can see where it's actually growing from. So I'm gonna start and just trimming the outsides and seeing how many more sweet potatoes we can get. We already have our bucket completely full. All right, so let's get doing this and I'll show you what happens once we really get some of this excess off. So these are sweet potatoes. They are absolutely huge. Here's like my glove for a reference, but especially that one. I've kind of just dug around the plant here. There are some smaller ones. I'm probably gonna leave these, just cover them back up, give them maybe like a week or two, and then just go ahead and pull them because I want to get this bed back in use. I've also found some of these are connected by little tubers to the ground where they're starting to grow like baby sweet potatoes. So I don't think I'm really gonna harvest this or take all the ends off of this. I think I'm just gonna leave it. And when I come back to check the other ones, I'm just gonna pull the whole plant and harvest those later. And find something to do with these. I think we're gonna go and cure them, so I'll show you that process. Okay, so these are all of our sweet potatoes. And I'm just gonna let them cure for maybe a week or so. We'll see how it goes. The big one does have a couple scratches on it, so I may go ahead and just preserve that one because I really don't want to lose all of that. But with the curing process, you just want to let them sit in the open air. You want to have good ventilation. I just have them on a grill rack. You can really do this with anything. Of course, they have a ton of stuff that is made just for this type of thing, but you can do it yourself. And we just want these to go ahead and harden. I didn't take all of the dirt off, but any big chunks, you can go ahead and shake those off. So next, I have a ton of green beans to harvest. And we've ended up having so many that I've been harvesting probably a couple of quarts a day off of these. Let's see if we can get in close. Oh, here's a ton. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and start these. So we are just loaded down with green beans on these. We're gonna get this harvested, and if I have enough, I'm going to go ahead and can them. Okay, so So we have all of our green beans harvested, and I think we're gonna get a couple of quarts. So I'm gonna go ahead and get these rinsed off and cleaned so we can get those prepared. And I also have just some assorted banana peppers. Some are hot and some are more mild, and I'm gonna try out a peppercini pepper recipe for this today. All right, well, I'm gonna go get these rinsed off and we will get started. So all of our green beans are washed, and I'm just gonna go ahead and start snapping these and then putting them into the jars. And I love the sound it makes when you snap them. So what we're gonna do with these is I'm going to put half a teaspoon of canning salt into the jars. I'm gonna fill them halfway up with water, and then I'm gonna fill them the rest of the way up with a type of broth. I do have some homemade broth going right now, but it's not gonna be ready. So I might just use some of my Swanson's chicken broth. I've used beef broth too, and it works just the same. So I'm gonna go ahead and finish filling these jars up, and then I'll show you when I pour everything in. And we're gonna go ahead and move on to the peppercini peppers because I have our water bath canner heated up behind me. So for our peppercini peppers, I just have a large pot. I went ahead and added 8 cups of water, and we're gonna do equal parts of white vinegar. And what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna put it on the stove top and get it heated up because our jars are already heating up behind us and we don't want to shock them with cool liquids. And now I just have my Mrs. Wages pickling and canning salt, and I'm gonna do about 1.5 tablespoons with this. Okay, so I'm gonna let this heat up on the stove behind me, and while we're waiting, I'm going to go and poke a couple holes in the top of the peppers just so they absorb everything. Okay, so to do this, I just have a toothpick, and I'm gonna go stab a couple of holes all around the top. Not sure how well you can see them. Just a little. And this is just gonna be so that they absorb all the vinegar and we get some good flavor throughout. Okay, so some of our jars have heated up, and we're just gonna go ahead and start loading them. We'll see how well all of these fit. We might have to cut a few. And we're just gonna try and pack these tight. So the reason that we can use these or do these in a water bath canner is because we're going to put a lot of vinegar in them. So we're basically gonna pickle them. And the surprising thing is a lot of peppers really aren't high acid. A lot of the spicy ones are. Some of them aren't, which would mean we would have to do it in the pressure canner. But if we pickle it, then we can do a water bath. And it's kind of just one of those things to, it sounds like a lot, but you'll start to pick up on it quickly. And because I want these to stay kind of crisp and not get very soft, I'm going to use some of my pickling crisp, and you put 1/4 teaspoon of this for each quart. If you're doing pints, then you want to do 1/8 teaspoon. So I'm going to go ahead and get the rest of these loaded, and we'll see if our vinegar and water solution is heated up enough to put in these jars. Okay, so our solution is ready and heated up. We're going to go ahead and do 1/4 teaspoon of our pickle crisp into each jar. And the headspace we want to see on these is about 1/2 inch. So once I debubble these, I'm going to wipe the rims and we're going to put them in the water bath canner for just about 15 minutes. Okay, so our beans are ready. I'm going to go ahead and fill these halfway up with our chicken broth. And then I'm going to do the other half with water. If you want to do just all water, it's totally fine. You can do that. I do that, then I usually put a couple of teaspoons of the canyon salt in it, just to give them some more flavor. And these we are going to pressure can for 25 minutes. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and get these in and check on our peppercini peppers. Okay, so I just took our pepperoncinis out and I'm still waiting just a little bit longer for our green beans to get ready. I did get probably another quart of green beans, but I think I'm going to save those for dinner tonight. Or I can go ahead and do the same thing I did with the other ones and put them in the fridge until I have enough to do an entire batch. But I have done that before, it works out really well. But I hope you really enjoyed this video as much as I did. Our fall harvest, or our harvest from our fall garden, has been going crazy. I think it's actually definitely been one of our biggest producers. So I'm gonna go and finish harvesting some okra and a couple of odds and ends here in the garden, and we'll be back next time.